Welcome to Around Town, a show that provides information on North Andover and the surrounding towns in the Merrimack Valley. Today's special guest is Ray DiFiore. Hello, Ray.
Jimmy, thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. So you're going to explain today to our audience about the Feast of the Three Saints in Lawrence on Labor Day weekend.
Okay.
Okay.
The feast that we have every year on the Labor Day weekend, the Feast of the Three Saints. The three saints are St. Alfio, St. Philadelpho, and St. Chinino. That feast originated from a small town in Sicily called Tricastani. In the year 243, the brothers were martyred in Lentini and then taken from Lentini to Tricastani, and that's where the saints are housed in the church of St. Alfio in Tricastani. The three brothers were very young. They were in their teens, and they were martyred in Lentini because they refused to renounce their belief in Christ by the Roman Empire. And they were not poor people, they were aristocrats. So for them, all they had to do was say, you know, we denounce Christ, and they would have been let go. But they didn't, and they gave their lives for it.
Right.
They died in a very horrific manner. One was burned at the stake, another one was, his tongue was ripped from his head, and the other one was boiled in oil. The immigrants that came to America in the 1920s brought that feast with them to the city of Lawrence.
To keep the tradition going.
Correct. And that organization still is very, very active in the community, in the city of Lawrence, and has been for the last 93 years. 7 more years, we will celebrate our 100th anniversary.
Wow.
And it's probably the oldest organization and the oldest tradition in the city of Lawrence that we know of. At least one of the oldest.
Right.
And the saints are housed in Corpus Christi Church, Holy Rosary Parish, and our organization has just built a brand new building which is right next door to the church, which we are associated with that church because the immigrants, when they first came here, obviously attended Holy Rosary Church.
Right.
The organization was originally started as a mutual benefit society. The immigrants that came here had nothing. There was absolutely no welfare programs or social programs to help them out. They had everything they did, they had to fend for themselves. So the organization was started as a mutual benefit society specifically for the individuals that worked in the mills, as an example. There was no benefits. There was no Social Security. There was no unemployment. There was nothing. So individuals worked in the mills or they worked other places. And let's say, for instance, they became ill or they got hurt. Their pay stopped. So the organization, the society, would literally give them their pay until they were able to recover.
Wow.
And then once they recovered, then they would pay that money that was given to them back to the society.
Right.
They also had different stores and vendors that you were asked to support. If you bought your groceries, if you had a laundry, or if you had anything, you were asked to support the businesses that supported the Mutual Benefits Society. And you did so. But again, once you were better, then you went back to work and then you paid that back to the society. Obviously now that's not needed because we have evolved into working class people. We have people that belong to our society that are people that work in the mills today, and also doctors and lawyers and teachers, etc., and whose family came from that original group of people. Not everyone now, because we have people that belong to the society that are not of Italian extraction, but they're either married to somebody or their grandmother was, etc., and they are members. We have a total currently of 165 members.
Wow, that's decent. Now, this benefit that you're talking about, it's called Mutuo Soccorso.
That's the Italian name,
Now,
but
what does that?
it's a benefit society.
Is that what?
It
Yeah.
was a mutual benefit society to help the person that belonged to the organization.
Right. That's really nice.
And you know what? It was actually, they were really ahead of their time, because think about it. There was no social programs whatsoever.
Right.
So they helped their members internally,
Right.
so that they could continue to support and supply what was needed to their own families.
It was like an insurance that we gave them
Exactly.
that didn't have to pay for it, just pay it back.
All they did was pay their dues, whatever
Right.
their dues
That's
was.
not bad at all. That's a good idea.
But they brought that feast here to the city.
Right.
The first one, which was held in 1923, was right where it is today. And it was expanded, however. They did have stages like on Union Street, and they had some on Jackson,
Right.
but primarily in the Common Street
Common Street area.
from Union Street all the way up to Jackson Street,
Right.
which is basically, what we have today. And we have 3 days of celebration. The most important part of it is on Sunday when the saints come out of the church.
Right.
And the money that we generate today pays for our expenses, and then we give money out for different charitable organizations. We also give money out for scholarships for young people that are entering college. The last year, I think we gave in excess of $6,000 or $7,000
Yep.
for scholarships. And again, we also give to the church. Even though we're not part of the church, we are obviously religiously connected to the church, so we support them as well.
Right. Now, something new that we're doing too is we're giving turkey dinners to so many families each year.
Yep.
And
Yep.
at Christmas time, I think we're doing.
Right. We do that through the church,
Right.
along with St. Vincent de Paul, I believe.
Yes. Yep.
And we also help over at St. Pat's breakfast.
Yep.
Corunum.
The quorum. Yeah. Yeah.
Our organization goes there and helps out so many days during the course of the year.
Yeah.
So we are an organization that's very active. We also make sure that people know who we are and how we originated, but we have to thank those original immigrants who first came here to continue this through the years, and it's been very, very successful.
If it wasn't for them, we wouldn't be having the feast.
That's right, exactly.
Now,
Exactly.
when the feast first originated, it used to be just 2 days. Am I correct?
It was 2 days, and then we expanded it to 3. And the reason for it is that in Sicily, the feast is being held right now as we speak. It's the feast day in Sicily is May 10th.
Yeah.
In fact, we celebrate a mass
Right.
in honor of the original date, which was May 10th. However, here it was held on Labor Day weekend, and some people speculate. I don't think we really know the reason for it, but some speculate that it was a long weekend and people were not in the mills. Labor Day came up and we were able to expand that so we couldn't break away in the middle of May to have a feast. Although there are other countries, we have a feast that's held in Australia,
Yeah.
and they have it is in May and not on Labor Day. Obviously, they don't have that,
Right.
that particular
We've
holiday.
had some guests from Australia too come to ours.
We have, and we've had some from Pennsylvania,
Yep.
because there's another organization there. We have some that came from Sicily to visit us, so we still have a very strong bond with those other organizations in other countries.
Right. Right.
But you really have to come in and see the faith that people still have in the saints. Specifically, again, as I mentioned, on Sunday when the saints come out of the church at 3 o'clock, it's really a glorious thing to see, and the feeling that not only the religious aspect, which is our number one, what we try to promote, the saints, and that's what it's all about, but it's the camaraderie, it's the remembrance we have at the feast. At one time, all the the common street had apartment buildings. So people would come down, enjoy the feast, and then they'd go back to their apartments and have something to eat, take a rest, and then go back out again.
Right.
We don't have that anymore. So luckily what we did is we put together a cafe under a tent, and that has become the tenements. People
nice.
are able to come there, sit, have something to eat, reminisce about old days and where they lived and what parts of the neighborhood. So it's a sort of a coming home. And every year people come from all over the United States to visit. It's their one time that they come back to the city because they live in all parts of the country.
Right.
And they're able to see people that they haven't seen in years.
Wow, that's really nice. And let's see, then now the feast is 3 days, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Right, that originated by actually Silvio Campagnone, Sam Lombardo, who were the past president, vice president. We were able to have concerts on Friday on the bandstand. This goes back to even before we had the entertainment in the Common. We put up the bandstand early on Friday night. You know, we had some great musicians go up there. A lot of it was paid for through the Musicians Trust Fund.
Yeah.
And on Friday night we would have the concerts and people would enjoy that. And then of course on Saturday, which is the night that we have our fireworks and our torchlight parade that we have when it turns to dusk.
Yeah.
And that's done on Newbury Street, on Jackson Street, on Common, and also on Union Street. And we all converge at the corner of Newbury and Common Street for our veneration to the saints.
It's a ceremony.
It's a ceremony that is significant from the old country because everything is in threes.
Right.
There were 3 streets that we come from, and we converge on Newbury Street, and the cantatas, which were specifically written, the music was written for the saints, and those are played during that ceremony. And then a huge firework display is done during that part of the event.
I forgot to mention to the audience that Ray is a past president of the St. Alfio Society. And Ray, how long were you president for?
I was president for 6 years.
6 years. Yeah, so you know everything that goes on behind the scenes and setting up everything too.
Well, you know what? Well, I've been a member for 40 years.
Right.
And there isn't any job that I haven't done in the past. But I do love it. I mean, it's extremely important to me. You know, my son is a member. My grandchildren participate. My daughters participate. Their husbands.
Yep.
It's a family tradition.
Right.
And it's something that we hold very, very dear. My wife's family is one of the originators, the Pharaohs. And they were the first group, if you will, that helped put that organization together, both her grandfather and her great uncle, as well, her uncle rather, were people that originally helped put it together.
That had to take a lot of doing too to put that together.
And we still do the same traditional thing of the pigeons
Yes.
that go up during the ceremony of the benediction.
Right.
In fact, back then, her grandfather would go into the Common and catch them.
Wow.
Well, when became my responsibility, there was no way that I was going into the Common
And catching them.
to catch them. So we have homing pigeons
Right.
that we rent.
Yep.
And once we let them up during the benediction, then they just fly back to where they came from.
What do the pigeons represent, in other words, when they let
Well,
those go?
it's said, and this is, to me, the best answer, it represents the souls of the saints going to heaven.
And the balloons?
That's just something we added
right?
on. You know, I mean, we took a lot of traditions from the old country,
Right.
but there aren't as many, obviously. That's been going on for generations there.
Right, right.
In fact, in Sicily, where the saints are displayed, they're only opened on the Saints' Day, which is May 10th. And the reason for that is that one of the popes back in the, I think the 18th century, said that the people were venerating the saints more than they were Christ and the Blessed Mother.
Oh.
So he said, saints come out once a year during their date, which
Yeah.
is May 10th,
Yeah.
and the rest of the time they remain on the altar and the doors are closed.
Right. They really, really believe in them strong in
Yes.
Italy. I went to the feast 3 years ago in Tricastagna, and it was amazing. I couldn't believe the people there. I mean, you had to like weasel your way through. I mean, it was tight.
Right.
I mean, it was standing room only. I mean, when they were coming out of the church, it was incredible. And the fireworks, they shoot fireworks everywhere there.
Right.
Doesn't matter how far away they are. They're unbelievable.
Well, you know what? It's not, they don't have anything to worry about like we do. I mean, when we set fireworks off or send something up, you know, we have restrictions of the fire department because, you know, you don't want to start a fire.
Right.
However, in Italy, they could care less.
Yep.
But the one thing that they don't have to worry about is most of their roofs there are made out of slate.
Right. So, don't have to worry
So they
about
don't have to worry
Yeah.
about it. Although when I was there and we were watching the fireworks go off in the square,
Yes. Yep.
in fact, Tommy Zappola and I were standing there, and one of the trees caught fire.
Oh, wow.
You know, so it's something it's great, but you know
Yep.
what? You got to be very careful and know what you're doing.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
The other thing that struck me is that when the saints come out of the church during the May 10th celebration in Sicily, they take all the pews out of the church, so to provide more standing for people in the church.
Right.
I mean,
Wow.
that's how crowded.
Yep.
And-
I couldn't believe the people there.
And of
Couldn't
course,
believe
the candles that are lit and brought into
it. That's something
the
else.
church. It's a
That's
beautiful
something else.
sight.
And it's so touching when you're standing in church and you got people that are coming from all over Tricastagna, walking in bare feet, crawling on their knees with a candle
Yep.
to give them to the saints.
Yep.
It's unbelievable. I mean, it was
their
incredible.
belief.
One of the best things I've ever seen. I mean, I had a great time there.
We have, as you know, Jimmy, we take the saints out of the church and we process them through the streets, and we use the same route that our grandfathers and grandmothers walked with the saints. I'm talking about in Lawrence.
Yep.
We've never changed that. It's the same route, even though that in a lot of instances the homes that used to be there are no longer there. But I remember a time that we were going down Jackson Street, and a limo was coming up the other side, pulled into one of the alleys, and a bride got out. And she ran up to the saints and paid her respects by giving a donation. And she said that her entire life, she never missed the saints and the feast. So on her wedding day, she came there before she went to the church and got out and made an offer to the saints to give her a successful and a happy marriage.
Nice.
And then got back in the limo and took off. So there's a lot of, stories about, what went on through the years, and it's something everybody should, if you don't have the feeling like you and I have, Jim, and our connection with it through the years, you certainly should come down at least once and experience it.
Yep.
Because I think if you experience it you'll keep coming back.
Right. Explain to our audience the ceremony that we put on inducting new members.
Okay, you can, at one time, you could not belong to the society unless you were from the city of Tricastagna. If you were from that town, then you could belong. If you weren't, you couldn't belong. As the years went forward, people from different parts of Italy wanted to join, and then eventually it was, if you were married to somebody who was from Italian extraction, or if you had a grandmother that was, and we open it up to everybody. I mean, we have every conceivable, as you know, nationality that belongs to our organization, as long as there's that Italian connection.
Right.
You have to be sponsored by 2 people. You go through an interview process, because we don't have members that are there just for the purpose of being members. We want you to participate. We need you to believe in the saints and what they represent. And then once that is done and accomplished on Sunday, you stand before the members in church at the altar, and you take an oath in Italian, and it's given to the members by, as you know, Alfred Laspina gives it in Italian, so that we don't forget where this all originated from. It's a beautiful ceremony. A lot of instances we have fathers standing before sons and friends who have been friends for years, representing them, and they stand before them. And the red sash represents that your belief in the saints, and it also to do what they did in helping your fellow man.
It's a really nice ceremony.
Yeah,
it's
it
a
is.
touching ceremony.
It is.
Very, very touching. Now, the saints come out of the church on Labor Day weekend at 3 o'clock.
3 o'clock, yep.
And that's when they start the procession around the city of Lawrence.
Right. Once the 3 o'clock, once the saints come out, we have a small little procession before that. The president and whoever else is on the vada. The vada is the, lack of a better term, the wagon in which the saints sit on. And we don't refer to it as a wagon, but just to give your viewers what I'm talking about. And the saints are put on that. They're taken out of the church. They're 1,100 pounds. Taken out of the church. They're put on a skid, and it's attached to underneath the unit, pulled up, and we slide it onto the vada, and then we process through the streets. Just before that, we come and we put everything, the roses and the flowers, and there is a box that you will notice that is tied to the front of the vada that's full of jewelry, rings, gold, chains, watches that was someone's father's, and they have donated that through the years to represent their love for the saints by giving something of such value and significance, to give that to the society to hold and to protect. And we take it out every year, and we pick certain pieces because we have so much of it that we can only display part of it. So we rotate what goes into that frame, and that's tied to the vada so people can see that we have it, we protect it, but the reason for it being displayed.
Now, as the saints are going through the city, to the route,
Yep,
people are giving money to the saints.
correct.
And what are we doing with this? How? When they give you the money, where is it going?
The money, there are people that are on the vada. The people that are on the vada are chosen by the president.
Right.
And it's an honor to be on the vada.
Sure is. I was up there.
Right. And the reason why the president chooses the individuals is for their dedication and hard work during the course of the year. While you're there, people raise their children to honor the saints, to pay their respects, and they give money to the saints, and the members that are on the vada pin it to the cape of the saints, and then at the end the money is taken off, it's counted, and all that money that's collected, and we've done this for years, goes to charity.
That's nice. That's nice. Along the route, there are even like certain houses along the route that there's a strip of money that comes down from the window
Right.
and is draped around the saints.
They tie it, they pin it from one bill to another, and they make a roll of the money. We stop at Tony Panisi's house, at Nunzio DeMarca's. It's let out the window, the band is playing, and we wrap it around the saints for that money to go to charity.
Yeah, every year. Every
Right.
year it's not the same time, same place.
Correct.
Now, going back to when the feast, when I was a kid with the feast, there used to be fireworks everywhere. I mean, they used to shoot off what they called parachute
Yep.
shells.
The Garangini.
And the Garanginis were the confetti guns.
Correct.
That today, they still have them, but they're done by air.
Right, because we're talking about, I think this happened back in the 70s or early 80s. The government regulations changed, and they didn't like the idea that these were being shot off in a crowd because the unit to shoot them off was powder, was gunpowder, and they felt that it was too dangerous.
Right.
So what we did was we took a trip to New York City, and there was a company there that we found that built these guns for us now that are done from a pneumatic system, and we blow them out of that.
Yeah, right. And it looked good too.
Yeah, but we still have the regular, you know,
Aerial,
aerials that are shot off, but they're shot off now by licensed people
right.
and who pull licenses with the fire department, et cetera. And even the opening of the feast, and we fire them, you know, that we have a firefighter detail there to make sure that nothing goes wrong.
Yep, things have changed big time.
Right.
I mean, Anthony Borzi, was it, the king of fireworks?
Angelo was the father.
He's
He was the king of the fireworks.
King of fireworks in Lawrence.
Right, and actually he lived right on Garden Street.
Right.
And would build these over the course of the year, and he stored them in his garage.
Right.
I mean, you couldn't do that today.
Unbelievable. And the parachutes were handmade by a gentleman that owned Rockingham Fireworks,
Yep.
who's deceased now, and he took the secret with him.
Yep.
He never even taught anybody how to do it.
When they fired those things and they opened up, I mean, they were like, some of them were 10, 15 feet long.
Yep.
And we would, as kids, because I grew up on Common Street, right next to Tripoli Bakery.
Yeah.
And they would take off, and we'd chase them sometimes all the way to South Lawrence.
Now, the rumor was there was money inside of them.
Well, I caught a couple of them, and I've
Never found any money.
never found any money.
But I remember the kids used to land like on a telephone pole, and
Oh,
they
yeah,
try to
they-
climb that
oh, yeah,
telephone
believe
pole
me.
to get the parachutes. It was amazing, just for a souvenir.
It was a lot of fun growing up on that street.
It was. It was. It's changed, but it's still a really, really good time.
Absolutely.
I mean, we have vendors up and down the street. You name it, the kind of food we have, it's unbelievable.
Listen, all the concerts, all the entertainment is free.
Right.
Where are you going to go
Exactly.
to get that? It's just not
Exactly.
going to happen.
Right. Now, on Saturday, and we think we have a clip of it, it's the road race for 5K. We're raising money for scholarships.
Yep.
And this is our third year
On the road race.
on the road race.
Correct.
Doing the road race. And it starts in front of Holy Rosary Church, and it's really good. It's building up every year more and more, and that's what starts on a Saturday. We do it on the Saturday because in the morning there's nothing really going on on Saturday morning.
It's a great idea. It's
Yeah.
a great idea. Good for the kids, too. We get a lot of kids that run. I don't want to brag, but my grandson, John, won his class.
Really?
And they're running the last 2 years in a row.
Really? Yeah. Unbelievable. And I thought we had a shot of the Torchlight Parade of the bands meeting at
Yep.
the
At
intersections
Newbury Street, yep.
with the flares. Here it is right now. It's the flares, and they're coming down, I think it's Common Street right there,
Right.
and they meet at the intersection.
And you can see all the people that surround the outside of it.
The people are incredible that go there. I mean,
And it's jam-packed.
jammed. You can't get through there.
And then once this is all, the cheers are done, we bring in each band from each street,
Right.
and they all play something, and then they disperse right after that. That's a shot of the Vada, which we discussed a little while ago, and that comes out on Sunday. And as you can see, the parents are lifting the
Look at
kids
money
up.
on the Saints.
Correct.
Yep. Yeah, and there go the balloons. That's a really good ceremony. I mean, if you've never ever seen it, it's something to see, trust me. It's amazing. And we have free entertainment, like Ray was saying. On Friday night, we have Gian Ferrone,
Yep.
who was he born in Australia, I think?
I think so.
He
yeah.
was born in Australia. He's Italian, and he's going to do Italian songs, and he does a Frank Sinatra. Incredible, I heard. Then on Saturday, we have the Leominster Colonial Band, which is a gigantic band. I think it's 37 pieces.
Right.
Will be on our bandstand performing that night. And then, of course, on Sunday night, the closing, they're going to have the Reminiscence on the bandstand after the Saints go back into the church.
It's a great program.
It's incredible. I mean, and there's free parking behind the mill. And what we're trying to do again this year, and I'm not sure right now, is we're trying to get a shuttle bus to shuttle people from behind the mill to our feast in front of the church, because the feast starts on Friday, and again it ends on Sunday with our big ceremony.
Just to let the people know that if during the ceremony on Sunday, attending when the saints come out of the church, there are a lot of people who are elderly, who are wheelchair bound, that to experience that's very important to them. If they let the society know ahead of time, we'll make arrangements for their car to pull up right at the corner of Union and Essex Street.
Yep.
And their family can get them out of the car in the wheelchair.
Right.
And we'll make arrangements for them to be right near to the saints when they come out of the church.
Right. That's nice. That's excellent. That's good.
Yeah.
So listen, if you're not doing anything on Labor Day weekend, it's September 2nd, 3rd, and 4th this year. It's our 93rd Feast of the Three Saints. Come on down and join us. I'm telling you, I guarantee you we'll have a great time, and you'll see something. If you've never been, you'll see something that's amazing. It's really amazing. Ray, I want to thank you very much.
My pleasure.
It was great having you here. You're very knowledgeable about the feast.
It's a subject that I love.
And thank you very much. I appreciate it.
My pleasure.
That's our show for today, and thank you for joining, and hopefully we will see you next time.